The State of the University moment, this moment, is a chance for the president to, at least in some small part, address different issues happening throughout the university and to add some insight into some of those things. I'll probably tell a few less stories this time and a little bit more on the slides about why and how we are doing certain things. The State of the University, though, is also a chance for everyone in this room to meet each other and to get to know each other a little better than some other times. And so after this presentation, I should say, take some time to get to know some of the faces you haven't met before. It may be the only time you see each other for most of the year or some of the breaks, but you never know. As things go, you'll be here a while, and you may find yourselves 20 or 30 years from now having connected in a friendship that started here today. So my focus, for the most part, will be on some of the smaller things this year, on items happening arguably behind the scenes to really make the campus a little better and to help the faculty support elements of what it is that we happen to be doing. Some of it is obvious, some of it isn't necessarily obvious. I think all of you know this. We live and work in a very, very special place. Not only is it Spearfish in the Black Hills region, but at Black Hills State University, which I think is a fantastic, special place. We get to do some very meaningful things every day, and those things help shape the lives of individuals who have these dreams. And we see it all the time, and you see it especially inside the classroom, where you may not necessarily meet the families of those students that you're talking to, but you know you're impacting that individual who may somehow impact the lives of many others later on. So I wake up every day, and I think everyone in this room wakes up every day and remembers the gift that we have been given. And that gift, honestly, is the chance not only to be employed, but to be employed in a place where we really get to shape the minds of individuals, not just young individuals coming through the door at age 18, 19, or 20, but our colleagues as well. The conversations outside in the hallway shape all of us in different ways. And I think that's very meaningful as well and appropriate for this conversation that we're having today. So I wake up every morning thinking about the gift that has been given to me, not only to lead a university, but to actually work at a university and make a difference in some of the lives that happen to be out there. And if we do our part, this is what the picture looks like at the end of 4 or 5 years. A family celebrating in that moment. I look at this picture, and I don't necessarily see the faculty or the staff or even the physical side of the university, but I know it was a very big part of those smiles that happen to be there. And 40 years from now, who knows what that college graduate will become. They may be sitting in this room, or they may be doing something great within the community. But I do know that we make a difference for them. And so for all of you here, whether it was a simple conversation, dining together with each other or with students, attending sponsoring different events, helping students with your patience or your perseverance, thank you for all the things that you do. Please give each other a nice round of applause. Over the next hour, and you know I talk a lot, I'm going to go over this outline. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Crow Peak fire. I'll spend the most amount of time on some of the accomplishments happening throughout the university, a little bit on the trends that are out there, and most of these come from Board of Regents information that is often shared with the presidents or the vice presidents, and then wrap up with some of the things that we're really focusing on over this next year. Some slides I'll go through very quickly, some I won't, and there'll be times I may ask a few of you to stand up so we can recognize you. Who was here during this summer and saw the fire? Take a look around. Most of you. I know that when I first saw the puff of smoke coming up from behind Crow Peak, I knew it was a forest fire, but I also knew it would go away fairly quickly because it didn't seem that big. Is that fair to say? And one day became 2, became 3, became 4, and now it wasn't so little anymore. It became darker and bigger and everything else like that. And I noticed it, and I realized, like many of you, that it wasn't this tiny forest fire anymore. It was actually this fairly large forest fire that started with just a few acres and had grown to well over 1,000 acres. And honestly, if it were on the front side of Crow Peak, I would have been more nervous than I was, but because it was on the backside, probably like many of you, I felt reasonably safe. I knew it was still a long ways away, and in some respects, it was out of sight and out of mind. Is that accurate for many of us? And so I noticed it. And as time went on, very quickly, before we knew it, on this particular campus, there were 600 different people staying on this campus in our residence halls. Aviance, our food service provider, had served roughly over 10,000, almost 11,000 meals to the firefighters and other individuals in support over a 13-day period. We ramped up this university extremely quickly during the summer. Much of it was with a reduced staff. I say that in part because I think the Spearfish community and this BH community stepped up. We did what we believed we had to do to preserve the integrity of Spearfish, the county, more importantly, Crow Peak and its natural beauty. And for those individuals, particularly those in facilities, student affairs, Aviance, technology, and all the other areas that just put in time because it was the right thing to do, I want us to thank all of them. So if you had anything to do in helping us help the firefighters deal with the fire at Crow Peak, please stand up for one moment. Please stand up. Thank you very much. To those that commented on how BH responded, it made a big difference to those firefighters and the citizens in the community for doing what we did as a university. Excuse me. Let's talk a few accomplishments, but before I do, where's Rod Custer? There he is. You know, I've had the pleasure of working with Rod Custer for 2 years. And not only has he been a fantastic provost and VP for academic affairs, he's been a mentor, a coach, someone who's guided the faculty. He's always been committed to the faculty and what they were doing inside the classroom. He would more than often come into my office and tell me things about what you were doing across the university, and he was always committed to the integrity of academic excellence. That word he just drilled into me over and over and over and over again, to his credit. And so over the last several years, he's guided this university and dealt with all those things that come before him, sometimes with grace, sometimes with frustration, but he's done it with integrity, integrity that we all know Rod Custer to have. I didn't have a chance to thank him, so Rod, please stand for a moment. And let me allow everyone to thank you for your service. Thanks, Rod. He also dutifully handed off the Division of Academic Affairs to Dr. Chris Crawford. And one of the nicest things to happen when you're passed off something is when it's in good stead, when it's organized and it's functioning well, you feel good about it. And Chris is inheriting a wonderful division at, I think, again, a fantastic university. He's joined by a brand new Dean of Education and Behavioral Sciences. So we have Dr. Chris Crawford and Dr. Charmin Adams who are joining the administrative leadership of this university. If you two would please stand and allow us to welcome you to this university. And while we're standing, earlier, there were a number of faces floating across the screen, all of the individuals that are new to this university. I'm not going to recite your name, but I'm going to ask you also to stand, all the newbies, stand up. Welcome to Black Hill State. Now, on the screen right now are 6 items. And we've had a good year, a very, very good year. And I'm going to talk about some of those accolades that we are receiving. I'm going to try and read these 6 items just because I'm not sure all of you could read it on that screen up there. The first one, top 200 colleges for Native Americans. most affordable masters in education, most affordable business schools, best for vets in colleges, best for vets in business schools, military-friendly schools. That's just 6. Frankly, I do not know why prospective students value these things like they do, but they do. And receiving them actually does matter to us because it helps us in our marketing for more students. So those individuals who contributed these things, certainly a big thank you, but you should know that each time we get some accolade, even a little accolade like this, we try to turn it into an opportunity for our students and their families to look at us one more time. So the most recent one, and we've received this before, is the top 200 colleges for Native Americans. Allow me a moment to talk about the American Indian Studies program and our role with Native students for just a moment. This matters a lot to us because we carry Black Hills in our name, and we must continue in many ways to be respectful about the region that we live in. We're actually the residents of this particular community, and the expectations that are placed upon Black Hills State University is fairly significant, not only as a caretaker for the Black Hills, but the enterprise that provides opportunities to Native students. So the work that you do and the symbolism that goes into the work that we do as a university is very, very significant in this region. And so this award is actually a nice testament to how caring and committed we are to this region and to the Native community. So for all of those contributing, nicely done. Related to that, Gear Up, and you've seen this many different ways. Last year, Gear Up was in the news. It was in the news a lot, and it wasn't always for the best of reasons. This year it was in the news quite a lot for some fantastic reasons, a lot of good reasons. BHSU was selected by the Board of Regents and the Department of Education to be the regental partner for the $2.5 million grant of Gear Up. And in doing that, that expectation that we do it well, engage the students, and I guess masterfully manage the grant throughout the state was placed upon this university, which meant a lot to this university and meant a lot to the state. They considered all the other universities and other agencies, and honestly, we didn't raise our hand. I figured that they would look at us eventually because we're Black Hills State University and have a long history of serving the Native community. And that's exactly what occurred. As they looked and analyzed where would be the best place for this grant to sit, they settled on Black Hills State University, I believe, for all the absolute right reasons. Since the beginning of this program, there were roughly 129 students that applied. 69 started the program, 52 graduated from the program, and there are another 90 involved in the middle school part of the program, all on the upper end. So we're receiving accolades as a university left and right for, again, all the right reasons. For those involved in Gear Up, I'm going to ask you to stand. I'm bringing that to the forefront because universities can take hits for a lot of reasons. And we've been fortunate to be on the positive side of the press, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Gear Up had all the makings of the media looking at us and scrutinizing the university for sometimes the less than positive reasons. But through the efforts of marketing, communication, and Gear Up and the personnel within Gear Up, all they see is the good of the program now, and that's a very, very big positive for us as a university. There's some faculty that have done some fantastic things out there, and I want to highlight them for just a moment. If you see your face up there, you already know why you're up there, but this is just a small snippet of all of the faculty and all the things that you're doing, so forgive me for not calling out more of you, but I'm calling out just a couple of you. Dr. Ryan Clark out of speech, Dr. Mary Canton-Rosser of mass communication, and Dr. Bobby Looney out of business for leading their students into national titles or regional titles for the work that you are passionately involved in, and certainly getting students involved outside of the classroom into something fairly positive. So you three, let's give you a nice round of applause. 3 years ago, I brought up international, and some of you said, why? Honestly, why are we going to invest the few resources we have in the international agenda? And I articulated that the last 2 years. I won't go into great detail this particular time, but it is very important because if you recall, part of my message was, as a university, it's just a game and an area that we have to be in. It's like being technologically savvy. As a university, we have to have graduates that are technologically savvy. We have to have graduates that understand the international agenda so that they can be competitively competent. And we really need our faculty to be in that same realm so that they're equally competitively competent in global issues, because that's the world our students are living in today. Not so much 30, 40, 50 years ago, but today it's very significant. And we see it in our students who are playing games with students or individuals in other parts of the country. It's common to them, maybe less common to us, that happen to work in the workplace. Our whole purpose is to try and get as many students to have a positive, meaningful first experience in some realm of international studies. And we've had a number of different individuals embark upon this challenge for us. We're seeing it today in the number of international students that are now choosing to actually come to this university in a face-to-face kind of way. We're not looking at that reason because of tuition. That certainly helps, don't get me wrong, but that's not why we're looking at it. We're really wanting international students to come here so that they give us this breadth and depth of experiences within their own country that now inspire our students to maybe travel on their own someplace else. And so it enriches the university in a fairly different way. Now, we've had a number of faculty do travel, and I'm going to name only a few: Bobby Looney again, John Dixon, Brianna Mount, Gina Smith, Charlie Lamb, just to name a few. And I've forgotten a few names, forgive me. But all of them took a chance. I guess Steve Babbitt as well, took a chance and said, I'm going to travel somewhere with students, shepherd those students, deal with all the challenges of international travel, and try and help this university advance this agenda. And they did just that, and it's showing in the things that we are doing today. This past year, from just service learning experiences, we have brought our very first delegation to the Philippines. And some of you heard the comments of the students talk about that experience. I think for the faculty that did, there's no question they are changed forever because of the work that they were doing in the small school in the Philippines. This fall, we'll continue to bring students to Botswana for our International Research Symposium. How does that work exactly? We partner with Botho University, the largest private university in Botswana. And in that partnership, think of it as a marriage, we agreed in part to try and support their International Research Symposium. Why? Because they are constantly struggling to fill the slots for research agenda items, and they were constantly getting competitive offers from other universities trying to create their own research symposium. So they wanted help. They wanted to solidify it in a very big way, and they asked all their MOU partners to help them. And that's what MOU Memorandum of Understanding partners do. They help each other. And so our commitment to them was we will always send, as long as we can, faculty, mentors with their student scholars to present one or more research items to that research symposium. That does a number of things for us. Certainly it gives that professor an international paper as well as that student, but it strengthens that mentoring relationship between faculty and student. And it puts us out there as someone very interested in the international agenda. So that work meant a lot and continues to mean a lot to this university, and we'll do it again here in November, as well as bringing students to help in a classroom. Thanks, all of you, for doing that. Right now, on the billboard is the honors program. And it's difficult sometimes to be the one in the spotlight. There are fantastic departments here at the university, and as that spotlight goes across each one of them, sometimes it stops on a department. That department this year is the honors program. Now, it's not that easy as it seems, because when the spotlight is on a program, that means you get a little scrutiny and a lot of accolades, and you have to carry it and own it in a different way. And honors, we thought, could hold it and own it in a very good way. Listen to some of these numbers. The first goal was 60 students It became the goal 75 honor students. The goal then became 90, but they've already blown past that. They're at 107 students in the honors program. They started off with 0 tracks. Now they have a research scholars track, an international scholars track, and a university scholars track, which is inclusive of the other 2. They're doing some of those things that are actually inspiring honor students from throughout the state and the region to actually come to this university. I can't imagine any professor not wanting more honor students. But Dr. Courtney Hughes Wyka, you're doing all the things that we're asking you to do by building this program with other faculty and bringing more students in to really make a difference. You're changing the profile of Black Hills State University through your efforts. Thank you, Courtney. Our mainstay, and sometimes you've heard me say there's a couple of things that I have to always talk about, and that's Sanford and BHRC, just to name a few. We've had our grand opening of the Sanford Science and Math Education Center this past year. It's more than that, though. We think of it as a building or facilities, and those facilities, without question, look very, very nice. If you have not walked into that building, walk into it. There are alumni who are consistently sending emails to myself or Steve Meeker about how proud they are of this university and those facilities and what it means for science and math and education. But the emphasis, in a way, is a little bit different because it allows individuals to coordinate several different programs, foster many and many more different types of connections across multiple disciplines. That's just between BHSU and the lab, but it also is between the BHSU faculty in one department and another. There's another part to Sanford, though, and that's the underground campus in a very big way, as well as the education and outreach part, and I'm going to talk about both of those. The underground campus continues to be a model for many others. We're the only one in the world with an underground campus, and I tell you, we're pushing it as much as we can in all the circles we can. We're helping build our scientific reputation, both nationally and internationally, because of the underground classroom and the faculty and scholars that work within it. We're providing, probably most significantly, undergraduate research opportunities for our students. I want to touch on that for just a moment because I talked about that 2 years ago. Part of our effort this year, and you'll see it at the very end, is our desire to continue to advance our agenda on undergraduate research. There are students who are choosing this university directly now. They look at one university and they say to themselves, I don't want to go to this university because I'll have to wait until I'm a graduate student to do some of the type of research I've been just introduced to in high school and I want to do as an undergraduate in college. So they choose a different university, and guess what they're choosing? They're choosing us, Black Hills State University, because the message out there is that they get to have their hands-on with undergraduate research beside a full-time professor. That's making a difference for who's coming through the door. So in part, I'm encouraging all the faculty to write as many darn grants as you possibly can, but also to keep your focus on the undergraduate agenda because it does make a difference, and the underground classroom may be the spotlight of that work, but it goes across all the disciplines. It has a little bit of help, though. From the National Science Foundation, they have about $300,000, thanks to Dr. Brianna Mount and a few others, that help support the undergraduate research agenda. But don't be shy about writing those grants. We want you to do that for all the right reasons. Maybe the thing that makes the biggest difference for us, though, is how we're outreaching to kids. Part of it is we want our students out there to really feel excited about science and math and all the things that we do in higher education. And here are just some pictures you see of what students, and you can just put yourselves into some of their seats. Some of you may have been in those seats, of what they're looking at in 3D or why they suited up so that they can see what it's like to go down onto the 4850-foot level. Right now, BHSU and the Sanford Sanford's Lab and Education Outreach Program has done quite a lot for the K-12 program. We have over 44 teachers trained just this summer alone. probably as significantly, there's well over 12,000 students and teachers that have benefited from the work of this center. And so to all those tied to Sanford, you're doing the things we're asking you to do. Thank you very much for your commitment and your scholarship in making Sanford a highlight of this university. Let's switch a little to enrollment. And I'm still on accolades, so you might look at this and say, why are we talking about enrollment from a positive standpoint? This slide is the same slide as last year. It'll probably be the same slide for next year. The only difference is I move the arrow from 2015 to 2016, and I'll move it to 2017. And I show it to you because if you look at the decline, you'll see that we've been going down for a while. And when the industry talks about enrollment, we cluster everything into enrollment. I say this in part, everything goes into enrollment. So our head count may be down, and so all we're looked at is, well, your head count is down. But there's other numbers buried into this. The trend shows that we're supposed to be down. Other universities are down as well. But it's different than that for us, because our trends are actually going up when we look at who's coming through the door. Look at this for just a moment. There have been some very high points in our past. And in a moment, I'll illustrate why that impacts us in a very significant way. But if you look at just the total number in gray, the top number, 546, that's what came through the door last year. 546 new first-time freshmen at both of our campuses, BHSU and BHRC. This year, we're already sitting at well over 560 right now. If we were to close the doors today, that number for 2016 would be 561 or something like that. Now, it will fall back a little for Census Day, but I point this out because our trend is up. When you look at overall within the state of South Dakota, the trends overall are down. So we actually are gaining market share, if you want to put it in a business sense, where we should be down, we're actually up. And we're generating more interest in this university, and more people are looking at this university, and more are choosing to come to this university, which will show itself over the next 3 to 4 years. Why do I say 3 to 4 years? Because look at the impact, what happens in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. We had two very, very, very big classes of students in 2010 and 2013. Do the math. If you arrived in 2010, graduated in 4 or 5 years, that means you'd be graduating last year, 2016, 2015 or so. And that's why we have had very large graduation classes. And when you don't stack up new students with the large number of graduates, you have to go down from a headcount standpoint unless you do two things. Either bring in more students, and we're doing that, or retain the students at a better level. And I'm going to come back to that word retain because that's one of our more challenging points. But I'm still on the happy news right now, so I'll come back to that a little later. So let's look at some of the other happy news here. These are the feeder schools. And if you recall, back in 2014, we talked about how do we get our local schools interested in their hometown university. 2 years ago, only 22 students out of Spearfish High School were coming here. That's less than these two front rows right here, coming out of Spearfish High School. Thousands of students, over 150 graduates, only two front rows would come to their hometown university. And I get why you want to go away from mom and dad. We get that. We understand that. I don't get why you would want to go to a different university that has less than the best academic program when it happens to be in your backyard. And we hold our own to every single university in this state. In fact, arguably, we outdo every university academically within this state, just from the strength of our academic programs. So when you look at what has been happening in a positive sense, we've improved how we are perceived in the local community. You might still say, why is there only 31 coming last year? Well, that's actually 10 more than did the first year. And our goal only this year was 30, and I'm not sure where we are at right now, but I'm pretty sure we will surpass that. That means a lot because that's 30 families, 30 little brothers and sisters, 30 uncles and aunts times 2 that are all talking about their relatives coming to this university. That's helping us propel the message of the university. I talked about the degrees and the new freshmen. Here's a picture of what it looks like. You can see that the gold are the new freshmen and that the blue are the degrees awarded. And so if you think about how those play out over a generation of students, 5 to 10 years, give or take, you can see we're always in flux as a university based on what comes through the door. And we're about ready to increase the number of high school graduates within the state, and that's been predetermined for 18 years, as you know. 18 years ago, the births were determined with all the move-ins and the formulas they use. For the next 4 years, we will see an increase in high school graduates. That should show an increase at this university ×2 because we've held our market share in a way. But you can see across this board that we haven't necessarily kept up with the number of students that are graduating, but we're holding our own across the board very nicely. Let's talk about campus life for just a moment. I'm told, and I think all of you in this room have seen it, that there has been an increase in student program participation. Ask a student what they like about this university, and you're going to get a litany of different ideas. Some of your names will come up, some of the academic programs will come up, but they'll also talk about the different clubs and organizations they are in, and many are in 2 or 3, some even 4 different clubs and organizations, some academic, some social. One of the indicators of how students are engaged on campus is clubs and organizations. And one of the secrets to campus life is establishing or enabling your students to create more clubs and organizations and getting actively involved in those, involving their faculty and the staff and their other friends in those. So if you have a club, not only do you bring yourself to a meeting or an activity, you bring more students to that meeting. And we know this, the more engaged that student is somehow on campus, they're more likely to push through that hurdle and stay that second year. In 2014, we had 60 clubs and organizations. Last year, at the end of the academic year, we had 77. That's a very strong indicant that our students are actually engaged on campus, inside and outside of the classroom. This year, we're bringing back a long-standing tradition, the H Walk. If you haven't looked out onto the mountain and seen this H sitting up there, which stands for Hills, by the way, short for Black Hills, we're walking up there as a student group, and many of you are all invited to walk with them this Sunday to paint the H. That started in 1955 when Bob Temple, the Student Senate president, suggested it to this university, Dr. Jonas, the president, and then the Spearfish community. And with all the bureaucracy, it took a while, but it finally occurred. And they did it for almost 20 years until they discontinued it in 1973, give or take. And now we're bringing it back for all those reasons. And I got to tell you, it's about the size of this stage, about 180 feet by 44 feet, give or take. So when you're standing on it, it's steep, it's way up there, it's a gorgeous view, but it is the H, and it is representative of this university. So if you have not been up there, I encourage you to walk up there this Sunday, or anytime you may want to when it's not snowing. That was a joke. We're also putting money into new scholarships. You might say, where's this money coming from? But I'll articulate how. We've rearranged some of our operational funds and some of our new revenue sources to help support new scholarships. First year, we established the Northern Hills Scholarship. If you recall, that was $500 off the top, just for those students coming out of a Northern Hills high school who was involved in certain activities in their high school, like band and debate and a few others. And that's doing very well. This year we gave out 30 of those. The Presidential Medallion is using resources that was part of the inauguration, my inauguration, and other donations that go in to the Presidential Medallion. We've given away 44 of those. Humbert Hall helps those in need who can't necessarily afford the cost of education, but can afford everything else and certainly want to come to this university. 14 of those have gone out. Then we have our new Early Jacket Dual Credit program. Almost 30 students are part of that, but that's tying in the dual credit and all the scholarships through the state linked to that, plus some of our own. So all told, there's probably about $50,000 in there. But those students generate well over $1.4 million to this university. So through our, scholarships, new scholarships, we're attracting better students to the university who are generating more resources for the university. And our guess is that those students who are coming here, because they're better, are staying as well, making a modest gain in what we hope will be our retention efforts. Those with the presidential medallion, they're choosing other universities, so that scholarship is all about getting high-achieving students, and I'll repeat that, it's all about getting high-achieving students to choose this university when they are no longer on the fence. Their foot is on the line going to another university. We're reeling them back in with the opportunity to be a presidential medallion. Maybe one day we'll have enough money in that foundation, in that endowment, to do more than we are right now. We're also doing a few things inside BHRC. I won't list all of these, but maybe the most interesting one is with Dakota Tech, Western Dakota Tech. For those who are less familiar with South Dakota, there are technical schools and there are four-year institutions within South Dakota. And Dakota Tech is one of those technical institutes. And we get to offer certain degrees and they get to offer certain degrees. We're collaborating with them right now to find ways to get some of their AAS degrees linked more to some of our AA degrees, if not some of our baccalaureate degrees. There's great interest on both of our parts. This is how it goes, though, and you know this. We may talk about it 3-4 times in the summer, then fall hits. And then we don't talk about it again until next summer. And so this may take us 10 years to get out of the blocks, but I'm telling you right now, we've had more conversations and more synergy between us, and hopefully this year we'll actually get it out of the blocks and have it in place before next year, just because we're both very committed to finding ways to get some of their students to this university. Now let's look at this a different way, just slightly different. Stick with me, folks. A student who graduates out of Dakota Tech, we may look at that student as an individual that graduated with a technical degree. But let's put that in perspective. That student did what? Graduated with a technical degree. They graduated. They committed for a year or 2 years to earn that degree. We have students on this campus that show up year after year after year after year, but they haven't earned a degree yet. That's 4 or 5 years later. So we're talking about students that have generated a commitment to finishing a curriculum. Those are the best performing students we can get our hands on if we can get them into one of our degree programs at the 4-year level. You see where I'm going with this? They're already committed to their education and have committed 2 years, if not one, of family resources to getting through those hurdles. So that's a good thing for us. BHRC is also trying to align themselves to look more and more like a college campus. We've had a number of different speaker series events on campus. Some of the most notable had to do with gun control and I'm forgetting it. Anyhow, gun control and the political process. And it's interesting when you think that we read all these different stories throughout the United States about these conversations and how divisive they are. Yet West River, they were very civil, intellectual, and academic by nature. They were fantastic, just the way you would expect these types of symposiums or conversations to be on an academic campus. Excuse me. I think that speaks volumes for not only our faculty who are here, but those in Rapid City and the citizens within these communities to put, information and knowledge above of emotion in some sense and actually have debate in a very meaningful academic kind of way. We also piloted a math camp, and this was taking just a few students who were marginal on their math side and seeing if we can get those marginal students above the line where they would now be eligible to take certain math classes here at the university. And it didn't have the type of success we wanted it to have, but it was free. It was free to the student, and parts of it worked. I don't recall off the top of my head, was it 7 students actually moved themselves from below the line to above the line, and that's 7 students now that will be taking college level math, whether it's applied or college algebra, which will maybe show itself later on in the retention line. So BHRC took the challenge and said, we will try this pilot program at our own cost and see if we can make a difference. And it did make a difference for some. We're little better than halfway through the accomplishment, so hang in there. What's my time right now? I'm somewhere probably around 30 minutes, right? The building area upgrades. This matters in some ways, in different kind of ways. President Schellenkamp, the Schellenkamp Amphitheater, is a unique individual. She served this university for 8 years as the president and CEO. And like many presidents before her, there's only 10 presidents that have ever served in this seat at the university. Not only is she the first female president of this university, she did something most have never done, and that is serve twice as a president within a university, both here and at Emporia State. She served the university with great dedication and still serves this community with a very strong passion for BHSU. She's been a fantastic colleague for me as well. In her honor and her service to the state of South Dakota, we've named the amphitheater just by the bridge in her name. So it'll be the President K. Schellenkamp Amphitheater. And for those who know Ken, he didn't want his name there, and you can expect Ken to say that. But Dr. Ken Schellenkamp, professor of business, said, no, it was Kay's gig. She's the one who really should be up there. And so to his credit, that's what it will be. As far as apartment renovations, this you may say, why would we do that? Well, imagine yourself paying $1,000 to go to a less than nice facility on campus. That's why we have to do it. We want our students to live on campus. Another way to look at this is if all we have on campus are 18-year-old students living in our facilities, what's the culture of campus become? It becomes that of an 18-year-old student, which is in symbolic ways, psychology ways, a very dualistic mindset. It's either black or white. It's either you do it or you don't. That's part of their lifespan psychology. I know I got into the discipline a little bit, but that's where they're at from a developmental standpoint. If we have seniors living on campus, then our campus culture is that of a 22, 23-year-old who's demonstrated some success in the classroom and are mentoring 18-year-olds. So that's why it's important. We want upperclassmen, juniors and seniors and sophomores to reside on campus. And one of the ways you do that is to have reasonably good facilities and stay up on your maintenance. And so this is nothing new, but it was our first chance in a while to upgrade some of the apartment complexes. We have 8 buildings over there, and we renovated one of them, which includes new carpet, utilities, fixtures, appliances, counters, and windows. If you walk in there, you'll still think of it as a student apartment, and it has all those looks. It's far from some of the luxury things that are being built in other places, but it will help us attract more students in very significant ways. If you're seeing signs around campus, it's because that matters to our visitors and our guests to this university. We are actually trying to improve that, and we're doing it at a fairly low cost. So if you're coming onto campus or trying to direct someone onto campus, you actually can do it a little better than you could a few years ago. As significant is the Hillside Project, and that would be Pangburn. For those folks who don't know what Pangburn was, it was a residence hall built where that big brown patch of construction is going on right now outside on the campus. For the new folks here, there was this big building there, and it kind of blocked Lookout Mountain, and it served the university for decades with students in it. Today, that's going to be green space, and right now it looks like a big brown patch because they're still in the process of laying the sidewalk that will lead you down to Oliver Street. It's a bike walking path, but what will happen over the next couple of months, primarily September, October, we'll lay sod, so it will become instantly green overnight, and shrubs and over 110 trees will be planted there that will grow over the lifetime. Why September, October? Because that's the better planting time. And that was part of the plan. So that will be green space for the university. And for all of us here committed to sustainability, that helps this university in a fairly good way, and it recaptured the $1 million view of Lookout Mountain. Are you following me so far? We also had other things we had to do. We had to move our drainage ditch, irrigation ditch, and do some wiring. And so all of that was tied into that, construction project. We had another activity. Where's the photography folks? You must be happy with this facility. At least I hope you are. The old facility was in Pangburn. And of course, I just talked about Pangburn, so that's gone now. And they needed another spot, and they looked, and they looked, and they looked, and we tried everything we could to find a spot. And there was this old little dirt patch underneath the library. Most have never seen it, but it was a very, very big space that was really unfinished, just concrete walls and dirt. And through the efforts of many within the university, this is kind of what it looks like today, or a couple weeks ago. I'm sure it's different today with some of the equipment that has now been moved in for the photography department. Photography is one of our best academic programs in this university, one of the more distinctive ones for BHSU as well. We also moved Black Box, and that's now in Woodburn Hall. And if you haven't been up to the third floor of Woodburn Hall, please do that, because you'll see a to-die-for facility in the Black Box. It is really, really nice looking. Continuing on the theme of some of the elements that are out there, we've added jacket zones throughout the state. There really are a number of them. There's one in Spearfish, one in Rapid City, one in Sioux Falls. I guess you can say there's one in the Young Center as well, but that's a little different. Part of this was to create a new revenue stream and to get our brand out there, the Black Hills brand. And think of it this way. There are just under 12,000 visitors to the different jacket zones over the past year. All of them come in maybe with no idea that there's a university attached to the jacket zone. And they buy product in the tune of about $155,000 worth of product. And then they wear that product. They wear it not necessarily in Spearfish. They might wear it in California, Washington, Idaho, you name it, wherever they've been visiting. And when you have the rally coming through, people wanting just anything saying Black Hills, they're buying our stuff. So we're getting free advertising throughout the world because of some of our jacket zones that are out there that are paying for themselves. They also matter in a way because it gives some of our students and their families and our alumni places to get information, as well as participate in certain activities. We'll have some Geek Speaks there. We'll also have poetry readings and children's book readings in our Spearfish jacket zone. And right now we have Einstein's Bagels there, as well as chocolate. We've sold quite a lot of Chubby Chocolate, quite a lot of South Dakota State University ice cream, just to name a few things. So if you have a fix and it has to be coffee or bagel, that's the place to get it most of the time. Sustainability. If I didn't call ourselves the Honors International University, I'd call ourselves the Sustainability University, because I've spoken a few times saying this is who we are as a university in more ways than anything I can think of. We probably bleed sustainability in more ways than most universities, without question. In the last year, we've added 200 trees, and this in part was a reaction to Blizzard Atlas, if you recall, but it's also part of our goal to add 2,000 trees over the next 7 years. And so we're slowly working toward that goal to really reshape what the university looks like from an eco university. We've also established a donor program, so people are donating the cost of a tree, and then we plant that tree and maintain it. We've inventoried every tree that happens to be out there. Justin Ramsey, are you in here? Abigail Domago? Those two classes have done quite a lot to help us with sustainability, because part of our effort is to become a Tree Campus USA. To do that, you have to have a tree care plan, which we do, how you maintain trees and where they're going to go. You have to have a plan to add trees, which we do. We have to observe Arbor Day, and we have to have different service learning projects. And this year, we will put in to become a Tree Campus USA. How the service learning element has helped us is in Justin Ramsey's class, they've taken photos and assessed all the species. And in Abigail Domagill's class, they've Google mapped them all. And so literally we have a website where you can just go on and touch a spot, and that would be the tree with its species. and the type right there. And when we add new ones, that's what we will do, and that's how we're helping donors pick where they want to put a tree as well. So it's actually fairly high-tech and a different kind of way of looking at how we're going to become more sustainable. Related to that, we've changed quite a lot of lights on campus to LED lighting. This may not seem like a lot, but let me put it into perspective. By changing the LED light, by changing the lights to LED, we've generated enough utility savings where we could literally support 40 homes in Spearfish for a year. Think about that. The utility savings from LED lighting will generate enough utility savings to support 40 homes in Spearfish for an entire year. If you look at that over the long run, one of the greatest legacies we could leave those that follow behind us is a university that has a zero footprint. And that's one of my aspirations as the president of this university, which is also why we're looking very strongly at solar and other renewable energies. Later this academic year, we will most likely put solar on top of the Young Center and later on top of the library. Over a 20-year span of time, at some point in time, our footprint as a university will be so small, and the revenue that we are generating from saved utilities, we can easily redirect into the academic mission of the university. It will help those that follow us in a very nice way. Lastly on this screen, 43 tons of material. Think about it this way, the parking lot behind us right now has more than 22 cars parked in it. If we picked up every one of those cars and put it into the landfill, that's what we've saved through our recycling efforts. So we really are making a difference as a university, and without question, we are believing in what we are doing for all the right reasons, which is looking forward in a very positive way, how we can improve this community and the environment given what we are doing to it as individuals today. Am I making sense on that one? I know, some of you sit back for a moment, look at these faces, smile a little, wonder how come their faces are up there. Some of you can take your masks off now. You know them all. Part of our effort has been to promote the successes of individuals on our campus. If you walk around the Young Center, you'll see banners of those that are part of the Athletic Hall of Fame. If you walk around the Joy Center, you'll see banners of those that have won alumni awards. Through the middle of campus, Campus Green and other areas, that part between Meyer Hall and the Student Union, we will begin adding more light pole banners. It's been part of the plan for a while to put up faces of those faculty recipients of awards, those staff recipients of awards, faces of the president and vice president of faculty senate and student senate, so that people get to see them and we get to celebrate in their moments of success and glory. So up there you see a few, and we're going to see a lot of you, I guess, over the next year. So if you don't want to see yourself, walk a different way, all right? But we're very proud of what you've achieved, and this is one way that we're going to celebrate it on an annual basis. As far as the foundation goes, there's enormous amount of success we've had over the last 2.5 years. We've generated over $17 million in the last 2 years since July 2014, almost $21 million since January of 2014, $9 million alone this year. Almost all of that is because of the work of Steve Meeker. So Steve, way to go. Keep it up in a very good way. And all of that goes to different parts within this university in the long run. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. Here you see the picture-perfect profile of a person addressing a ball, Steve Meeker, getting ready to tee up. For those who don't know Steve, he's the resident golfer of the university, but he's also the vice president for advancement. And in part of his work, he's out there asking individuals for money. And just this weekend alone at Sutton Bay, a golf tournament where we ask certain donors to come and participate, he's generated over $256,000 doing that, just golfing. So my point is he needs to golf more often. I don't even know why he's sitting here. And so that would be every day, certainly every weekend. The goal is 256 every weekend. And I think he could try and do it, but that would be a tough one. But But that's a great get, Steve, so nicely done to you and Jed Albers for shepherding that cause. Thank you. Now, where does this money go? It goes into the foundation, and you might ask, well, why don't we get to use it right now? Think of the foundation accounts like a retirement savings account. That's probably the best way to describe it. So it goes in, and you have to let it earn interest. And we only use a portion of that interest for scholarships. And so we can't use it all because then it's not going to grow and give us more interest, which means more scholarships. So it's a very soft dance that you have to manage the resources in. And we don't have a lot in our foundations, and we're trying to build that up. And that's the challenge for this university because we started so late in generating cash into our foundation. We have a lot of gifts too, and you should know this, that are tied to estate accounts, which means you don't get that estate until someone moves on in life. And that's a good thing because they were kind enough to give us or name us in their estate. And at some point in time over the next 20 years, we will see those benefits from those kind gifts of individuals. So that's actually how the foundation works. So when you wonder why isn't there $17 million to do other things for us right now, think of it more as it's money going in that we have to wait to use. And for some of us in this room, we'll be here long enough to actually benefit from it. For most of us in this room, it's just our part today to leave this place a little better later on. To the technology side, we've upgraded quite a few things on campus. We now have better, newer hubs with greater capacity, making it easier to connect and use. We'll do the University Center later this fall. The D2L is important because it shows how much the faculty are really using the technology. Part of that, though, is linked to our students. You know, our students come to this campus very familiar with using technology, and they have this expectation that at the university level, all of us, faculty and staff, are very proficient in the technologies that we use. So our goal is 100% because that means our students are getting their information online, their syllabi are online, some of their tests are online, the communique is online, so it all kind of goes together. But there's a bigger piece to some of that, and that is something Warren Wilson, the CIO, has been talking about for a number of years, strongly advocating for, in fact, for a number of years. He would say, when you think about Oracle, as that's the Regents information database that supports our student systems. We're now at the industry standard. It's taken us a while to be the industry standard, but we're now at that, which means we have more tools for our faculty and our students to use on a regular basis. But more significantly, we have more capacity and more storage to help all of you do the things that you're doing right now. Basically, we are improving the technological infrastructure to help the academic foundational support of the work that you're doing inside of the classroom. So you may not absolutely see this, but it had to be done for the right reasons, and your work should become more efficient as a result of it. Hopefully you'll recognize some of those improvements over the coming years. Almost finally, on the university marketing side, we refocused some of our marketing directly toward the high school, and we're seeing that. There was a time we just blanket everything, and now we just go straight to the high schools because we don't have to go through necessarily third parties. We also modified our tagline so that it fits who we are as a university. We're seeing, as a result, increased number of applications. More students are applying to this university than ever before. That doesn't necessarily convert exactly to more registrants, though, because we already know students can just apply to 5, 6, 7 places. But our yield is actually pretty darn good, and if we can get a student onto campus, it's outstanding. Our challenge is that when students apply to a university, they're weighing their options with those universities. And you know where I'm going with this. They wait to see what we say and what we offer. And then because of the fiscal side of the families that we all know that are out there, including ourselves, it comes down to money. They may want to come to this university, but they may get a better scholarship package at another university. And because of the dynamics of the economy, they have to go to that other place. So it's not that we're not branding ourselves better. We're actually doing a fantastic job doing exactly that. Our challenge continues to be money. and the money that we're able to provide for students to come to this university, if not stay at this university, which I'll talk about here very shortly. Some highlights in athletics. We've had 3 national champions. Yeah, think about that for just a moment. The absolute best in the United States in their sport here at Black Hills State University. Jonah Thiessen in the 3,000-meter steeplechase, outstanding GPA. Christy Steffes in barrel racing, and Madison McLaughlin in the shot put. All of them bested other individuals at other universities. We also have our 2 new soccer programs, and I'll say a word about that in just a moment, but soccer's beginning now, and triathlon had a fantastic season just last year. Our athletic programs actually are doing fairly well. Volleyball sitting at 3.6 GPA as a team. Think about that. A team, all of them, producing at a 3.6 level. Then add women's basketball at 3.55, winning an award in the RMAC conference. They're doing fairly well on at least some of the teams across the board. The one, though, I tend to like sometimes in different kind of ways is rodeo. And I want to pull them out for just a moment because we talked about the national champion in Christy Steffes winning the barrel racing. And if you were not at Casper watching the national rodeo, that's a place to go. I'm telling you, I've gone twice. It's a place I don't want to miss. The atmosphere is electric. The events are fast-paced. The students are really, really good to be around, as well as our coach, Glenn Lammers. Where are you, Glenn? Stand up, please. If there's a coach that sets the tone for how coaches should be collegially and competitively, Glenn, you're it. Thank you for being here. Let's look at some trends. It's the last bit of kind of where I'm going before we begin to wrap up. If there's something in this slide, because you can't see most of the numbers, is follow the arrow. If you see that arrow down at the bottom of the slide, it's the return on investment if you've earned a degree. This is important to our Board of Regents because they're tracking this type of data often. They want to know that we have more individuals earning college degrees, and that's part of our goal from a strategic point to help citizens in South Dakota earn college degrees. And so if you have earned a baccalaureate degree, simply put, you should make somewhere in the neighborhood of $784,305 more in a lifetime than someone with just a high school degree. If you have a master's, it's $1 million more, and if you have a doctorate, like many of you, it's $2 million more. I know. I know. Yep. This is South Dakota dollars, so it does apply to us now. So if it were New York, it might be $4 million, but it is us. And so, yeah, $2 million. All of you in this room with doctorates over a lifetime will earn $2 million more than those of your friends with just a high school degree, technically speaking. Doesn't mean you spent it more wisely. It does mean that you have earned it, though. That's important, though, because when we're selling higher education, we actually want students to know that if they go to college, theoretically and most likely, their standard of living will be improved for all the right reasons. So if there's a message in this number, and I'm going to say this jokingly, it's less about us, it's more about what we represent, the value and the dream of higher education and what that means to a household. We theoretically live better than most who do not, and this is somewhat indicative of it. This is another graph that shows essentially the same thing, adjusted for the cost of the education itself. Now, you won't be able to see this either, so I'm going to share with you what I'm trying to illustrate in this item, and it's really for the Board of Regents when they talked very recently about finding the individuals through that have started some college and did not finish their degree. Now, think about that and what that means. I've started as a freshman or sophomore. I've acquired some loans. Now I leave the university without a degree, and I still have those loans. and I now have no collegiate way to pay for those loans because I'm not in the discipline or the field that I wanted to be in because I never finished my degree. You see the cycle? That cycle puts those individuals at a very big disadvantage because not only do they not have a degree, that means they're not in their income earning field, and they're still paying on the debt from something they didn't finish. And so some college, no degree, is about 95,000 people in South Dakota, 22% in this particular age range, 24 to 64. Our target in the board is to bring those people back into higher education because they already have some degree, some classes toward a degree, finding ways to get them to finish up and finish. And we've done that here on campus. We've run the numbers and invited some individuals that are very close and just need to take a class or two to come back and wrap it up. Again, you won't be able to see this, so I'll share with you what I'm talking about here. This is a table of the percentage of residents with at least an associate degree by county. Lawrence County is in the middle, and it shows that we are at, and that's the county we're in for those that are new to South Dakota, Lawrence County is 40.9%. So 40.9%, we'll round up to 41% of the residents in this county have at least an associate's degree. If you look at some of the others, SDSU is in Brookings, and Brookings County shows about 54%. Northern State University is in Brown, and Brown is at 40, well, give or take 42%. School of Mines is in Pennington, and Pennington County has 40%. USD is in Clay County. Clay County is 53%, give or take. And Dakota State is in Lake County, and Lake County is at 42%. The point I'm making isn't that we're in the middle of those numbers. The point I'm making is we've existed for 133 years as a university in this county. Why are we only at 40%? See the point? So we've been here for a long, long time as a university, as of these other universities. Shouldn't we be higher? Shouldn't we be at 50 or 60 or 70%? Why aren't more people in this county going to college? Or the counties where they have the industry of an institution promoting higher education degrees? We're only at 41%, and it would seem that if we've been here as long as we have, we would be at 90 or 80, at least 70%. So I think in a way some of our work is still out there for us from a trend point of view. And I'm not exactly sure how we do that, but I'm interested in some of your ideas, how we get more people in this community to earn their college degrees, ideally through us. Let me summarize some of the things that I've been talking about and noticing over the year. Our first-time freshmen, that growing trend is actually pretty good. We're doing fine in that area. We are holding our own very positively. In a down market, we're holding our own. Our fall to spring persistence is pretty good. We sit at about 87%. Freshman class, fall semester, going to spring semester, it's about 87%. That's not bad. That's consistent with most other universities, if not better. Where it gets us is from spring to fall, that retention rate drops 20 points to 67% on this particular campus, 63 overall when you factor in BHRC. Our graduation rates have been very good, and maybe in some respects too good. And our money for students in the second year is not enough, because what we're learning is that when we lose students in retention, it's not because they have poor grades. Some do, yes, some do. But it's not because of poor grades. It's not because they've all joined the military. It's not because they decided to go off and work per se. It really is because they could not afford the second year. We have a culture, a clientele, a student body that puts the money away for 1 year. And we're showing them, they're coming through the door right now. They come and they can afford a year, but we don't have enough to offer those second year scholarships. And we're trying to figure that piece out, and we will redirect some resources to help a few more students this next year get through that second year. That's the number that kills us. Because when you look at retention across the board, we're fairly flat at 63% as a combined university. Our goal is 75%. and there's only so many things you as faculty can do. The recruitment and retention specialists, the R&Rs, called every single student who did not re-enroll for this fall semester, called every single one of them. And again, my point is it had very little to do with their academic grades. They were fine. It had everything to do with we couldn't afford to come back. If we can find a way to redirect our resources to help those students come back for that second year, we might shrink that retention rate. Of course, that means more dollars for the university. Another way to look at it, and another element for us in our trend, and some of you are on the opposite end of this, we've tried very, very hard to eliminate the outgoing credits. What I mean by that is 1,200 credit hours have been taken by BH students from another campus in South Dakota. Because their system is integrated, they can take an online course from another university just like this. And so 1,200 credits are being taken by our students from another university. We've asked all summer to redirect those students to classes that we have strictly at BH. And some of you have been calling and doing all the things you could to change that. To put that in a different scenario though, 1,200 credit hours is about $400,000, 7 faculty. That's why it really matters. So when we're trying to put more dollars into the academic areas, if we close that number and get more students taking only BH classes, that's generating BH dollars, which then get redirected into the academic mission of the university. You see how this links? And so $400,000 is $400,000 we don't have. It's going to another university because of the courses the students are choosing to take. And we're trying to shrink that. We've shrunk it a lot here. And frankly, we're doing better on this end than other universities. But this is still a tough one to swallow for those reasons I just mentioned. Let's talk about where we're going next, and then I'll wrap up. Each time this year, I point out a few things, and you've been hearing that I've been talking about persistence and retention, And so, without question, we have to get our hands around the retention factor. We threw almost everything we could at the retention challenge this past year, and we still came up about 63%. So that means we've either peaked or we're going to have to do something dramatically different. And I'll share with you a proposal that we threw to the Board of Regents and later to the governor to help us in the long run. We have to do more for our second year funding and our scholarships, just so we can close that retention gap, which is killing us. Part 3 of our enrollment strategy is to focus on out-of-state students. There's only so many South Dakotans, and even less in the Northern Hills, that can come to this university. There's no university in the United States that will not say they need more out-of-state students. That's what we're all doing because we have to, because there's a fixed number in the states that we are in, and we're competitively going after students from other states. They are competitively going after South Dakotans. We are competitively going after Coloradans and Nebraskans and folks from Montana. And so part 1 was solidify our local area, the Northern Hills. Part 2 was rebrand ourselves in East River. And part 3 is bring more out-of-state and international students to the university. We'll continue to do more marketing. We'll continue to focus on undergraduate research and grants. And we're going to put some resources into faculty research to help solidify and at least spearhead pieces of that through our faculty support. So that's what I hope to see happening over this next year very deliberately. I don't think you can see some of this in some ways, but when we spoke to the Board of Regents earlier this summer, there were 5 areas that we brought up as a university, 5 initiatives that we are asking for funding for. First one was helping students graduate a university college. We asked for $1 million, give or take. And in a nutshell, that was everything to do with retention and in an intrusive way of doing student advising to get students from year 1 to year 2. We basically said this is our biggest problem in retention, and we need help from the governor and the Board of Regents to help us do this, which is partly a lot more bodies and a way to align our curriculum so that we get our students in the right courses as efficiently as possible, as quickly as possible, using as many advisors one-on-one as we possibly can. The second was funding the Center for Indian Studies, and that was not only FTEs, but helping establish and strengthen our master's program. Center for Sustainability and advancing those agendas. And probably the most unique was a weekend in senior college, about $1 million, which was really tied to BHRC. We know that senior citizens are the fastest growing group of college students in the United States. And we have a pocket of senior citizens in the Northern Hills as retirees. We want to try and find a way to get them to come back to school and earn not just certificates, but anything, any program. And the BHRC is the perfect location for exactly that. And they have the capacity to do it. In the beginning, in the morning session, there's very few students because most of the students at BHRC arrive about 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So this would be a new market for us. And then linking some of our weekend programs or some of our programs to weekend college so that students who are working full-time throughout the week can take courses strictly on the weekend and graduate in whatever number of years it may take. So we asked for money to do that, and what it looks like is the one that's going forward at the moment is helping students graduate the University College. That is presently passing through the Board of Regents. It has, and it'll probably go to the governor's office at some point. If there's any money left over, they will weigh what they want to fund. I share this with you in part because if you have friends in Pierre or friends anywhere that have friends in Pierre, this is where you can help. Right here, tell them about this proposal that will be coming up to help students graduate. Those funds would make a big difference for us in what we're trying to do. In closing, I'm going to read something to you because I think it solidifies how people view this university. This was a grandparent's comment back to me, an email I received not long ago. If you can read that, good for you, but I can't even read it on my screen, so stick with me. It says, because there is this family that came and visited us this summer, and they were so impressed with BH, they had to write something. They said, the arrangements made for Kaylee and family were vastly beyond my expectations. Thank you. Each and every individual involved with her visit was friendly, open, informative, and seemingly happy to be part of Kaylee's experience. Kaylee's visit with the professor, who was Dr. Pam Caribou, was an eye-opener for her. She came away with possibilities. What a great way for her to begin thinking about her future education and future life. Your campus was exceptional. Obviously, everyone involved with the physical campus is proud of their campus. It was neat and orderly, well-landscaped, clean, well-lighted, and visually appealing. I certainly don't know the history of the campus, but it looked as though it was all new. Even the very old buildings looked as though they were recently built. What a great student environment and a valuable part of Spearfish in South Dakota. You and your staff certainly made a friend of Kaylee. She has spoken many times of when she was at BHSU. Only the future will tell this tale, but at the moment, BHSU ranks very high in her thought process. Again, thank you and your staff, John Shillelagh. The people that she most worked with was Dr. Pam Caribou and John Ginter. So to Pam and John, thank you. Congratulations. In closing, again, I want us to look at some photos, and I'm just going to rapidly go through them and say very little. This is who we are as a university. This is why we do what we do, and this is how we make a difference. And so these are some of the photos that have been taken over the year. Just take a peek. Look fast, though. A lot of happy faces, wouldn't you say? That's who we are and what we do, and that's really how we make a difference. We as a university will lead as a vibrant, innovative campus, and will continue to have some exemplary academic programs and certainly student experiences. As I wrap up, I'm going to say what I've always said, certainly within the last couple of years. I'm asking you to do these 5 things. Recommit to serving students the best way that you and we know how. Maintain a contagious positive attitude. We get to work in higher education. It's actually a really good place to be most days out of the week. And think of the alternative in some of the other places you could have been working or professions you might have been in. Maintain that positive attitude. Number 3, focus on what we have and not what we do not. There are a lot of things that we want to have, but the things we have at this university are pretty darn good and better than most universities, and we seem to be using what we have better than most as well. Number 4, get out of your comfort zone. If you don't want to talk to people here, which seems strange for a professor, yes, but if you don't, talk to them anyway. Spend a little time out in the hallway getting to know some of the other faces. Do some things a little different that might be a little less comfortable for you. Then lastly, enjoy your colleagues and students, because we come to work every day, and there's a lot of ways to look at coming to work. We can either come to a very bitter, mean place, or come to a place where we enjoy the people that we happen to be around on a regular basis. Let me show a quick video, and then say a few closing comments.
Feel the power of the sound. Life's a great vibration, full of color, filled with motion, and the moving like a wave. My body fluid like the ocean. I don't waste my time with troubles. Too late. I win. Countdown, blast off, strapped up, strapped in. Now it's pounding like my heart, just like the rhythm in the street. My body grooving from my head to my feet. Just feel the beat. Feed the field and meter, up top tempo, tapping, blowing out the speaker. I got the move, sway, jump, jive, singing out my song, living life to the fullest with my dance shoes on. Take a look around you, everything it has a beat, from the people all around to the walls of concrete. There's a rhythm, there's a flow, there's a stop, there's a go. If you never paid attention, then maybe you didn't know. Everything is moving to a relative time, you can always count it out. There's a reason and a rhyme. You were made to feel alive, like the music so sweet. So get up off your seat, just feel the beat. Yeah, just a little louder now. Yeah, just a little louder now.